color is often one still underappreciated and unseen for what is really there. The most common answer for your favorite color, if you were to ask random strangers, is blue. There are many associations with blue, some of the most common including water, cold, calmness, and sadness. But it's unique in its specific associations, such as its own genre of music, the blues, and it being another word for feeling down. And while I could go on and regurgitate all the color psychology associations that are often listed in endless online journals, I find it much more interesting to explore the blue that I familiarized myself with when creating this piece. At the end of this video, I'll tell you what single word blue really means to me. If you don't already know, I'm creating a series called Matiz, where I explore color by creating a poster only using that color and using typographic poetry to express it further. And when creating blue, I similarly wanted to find the meaning of blue that is deeper than these surface level associations. Blue's heavy attachment to water felt more like motion to me, that blue existed as a liquid at all times, never a gas, never a solid. So much of my design was based on rounded shapes and morphing from one object to another. Of course, I could not ignore the common associations and claim that this piece was dedicated to blue, so a nod to the wave is made here, but I folded it into this cute little ghost. But like water, these oblong, irregular shapes take up an area and create a unique negative space. Within these spaces, I allowed myself to dive in and explore more. Some of these oddball explorations include the idea that vision, or at the very least the concept of light entering a lens and developing an image, feels very blue to me. These strange ideas are subjective, of course, like the idea that math is green and language arts is red. I'm sure many of you disagree and you can feel free to tell me exactly why, but I did make an attempt to keep it mostly to takes that the majority of people could understand or even agree with. Blue has felt like the largest color so far. With the range of blues out there, the contrast never really felt like a challenge like it did with yellow or orange. Hence the inclusion of the word vast. Being so large and associated with the idea of water, the ocean has always felt like the source of life. Not only does it encompass the entire environment over there, but it eventually feeds into the rest of the life forms in the world. The cascading forms of the words, the source, is meant to mimic the waterfall figure it directly lays on top of the shape of the wave. Of course, not all of this is that deep. Not everything has to be. It's nice to have a balance of complexity and simplicity. The more complicated portions of these pieces lie in the poetry I write into the empty spaces. One of these poems is as follows. Movement. Constant whether you like it or not, following the insurmountable mass that surrounds your body. Flow. Individual action still creates ripples. Ripples create waves. You make waves. Now, I'm not one to over-explain art or poetry, but I guess that's kind of the idea of this video. Some of what blue encapsulates for me is change. Change is one of those things that is bound to happen. Nothing ever stays the same. We are at the mercy of time, and the most we can do is make change ourselves. A single person isn't usually able to make a huge change, by themselves at least. It takes one person to start that chain of change and bring in more links to enact that wave of change. This poem still isn't the most profound or original thought there ever was either, but it's this specific connection to blue that inspired it in the first place. Blue is often associated with sadness, but I find that for a niche group of people is also a point of pride, hate, and grief, all for the same reason. While most people watching this video would not have this association, it is no secret that one of the most common colors for gangs is blue. Some of the largest groups are associated with blue, and those who have experienced loss at the hands of this type of violence know that blue is either attached in their minds to the person lost or the person who caused the loss. Of course, this association is not unique to blue only, but it might be the most common. This is one I personally feel, and I would feel remiss not to mention it at all. If there's anything to learn about loss, it's that you should value every moment. Any moment could be the last, and being grateful for all these tiny details enables life without regret. And that is at the core of the second poem. It reads, basking in the sun's reflection orbiting me, dreaming of the nights and the days where everything seems to finally come true. It may not last forever, but a moment alone is enough for the blue to fade into the mountains in the background. Eventually, I'll come back and remember what it is like to dream about the next great thing that will come my way as a result of my efforts. Till then, I dream about tomorrow. I'll see you there. I do hint at the ebbs and flows of life, those changes that are uncontrollable to mortal hands. A fun fact is that the air between objects is slightly blue. Of course, this is mostly invisible, which lets light through and allows us to see, but if you ever get a chance to look at some mountains, you'll notice they're a tinge of blue, but if you drive up to them, that blue is lost. Objects in the distance appear bluer than they actually are because of this. If I remember correctly, this is called environmental occlusion and is important for landscape painters to remember. Painter tips aside, the other typographic elements are a little bit more obvious. Blue never being rigid and being a blobby ampersand just feels right and self-explanatory to me. So I won't pretend it's deeper than it is, but the presence of someone and nothing more feels blue to me. It's a calm, non-exciting, but generally positive feeling. There's something blue to acknowledging and feeling someone's extended presence. I don't know, I'd try to explain it further, but how do you do that? How do you explain a feeling to someone who has never felt? Blue is a very special color to me, and having it be the only color I can use is not at all a limitation. It was the easiest color to use. It might be one of my favorite pieces of the Matiz collection so far. I haven't decided yet what the next color will be, but if you have a suggestion, I would love to hear it, or any of your thoughts. So far, I've done orange, yellow, purple, and green, and I have videos on each one of them, so if that's of interest to you, take a look. Check out the end of the video to find out what one word blue really means to me. Thank you so much for watching Nibbling. Every single subscriber and like is truly meaningful to me, and I do my best to really earn each one. I love you all so much. Until next time.